Okay, y'all. So I just wanted to do this live video real quick. I hope to get some viewers, but before I start, let me fill up my water. Well, so I initially wasn't really going to talk about this. I mean, I talk about it on my other platforms, and I also talk about it just in general with people, with friends, family, people around me. But the only reason this came up is I was just currently coming. It's currently 9:58, so almost 10 p.m. Central Time in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I was just coming from I just went to eat out and get a drink in one of the places that's like probably less than a mile, like down the street. It's like a 5-minute drive. But the reason I decided to make this video is because currently, I don't know if you guys watch the news, there's protests and things like that in Brooklyn Park, which is close to Minneapolis, where I currently live. And last year, around this time, I think it was in May or June last year, there was the killing of George Floyd, which happened. And there was a lot of protest as well. It was on the news. It was all over the place. And there were protests. I haven't seen them in Minneapolis yet. I know they were in Brooklyn Center, which is where Daunte Wright, the 20-year-old black guy that was killed. So basically, I made this video because I was just driving here and then I saw how many military, I don't know what you call them, military vehicles there are outside all over Minneapolis. And I'm just wondering, what is the reasoning for that? I know yesterday it was Tuesday. Let me make sure I know the date that this happened first. So it was April 11th is when Daunte Wright, again, the 20-year-old kid, was killed by the female officer. Her name was Kim Potter. And let's see, when was April 11th? I just want to make sure I have these dates right. So April 11th was probably like a Saturday or Sunday. It was a Sunday. So it was about 3 days ago. Let me get this video up again. Oops, wait. I'm sorry, guys. There we go. I had to just bring this video back. So it was about 3 days ago that this happened. And I think it says that the officer has been arrested, I believe. So that's at least something positive. But the reason I was upset and I decided to make this video again was because I'm wondering why all these military vehicles, I don't know if it's the National Guard, I don't know what they are, it's just like so many militarized vehicles. I took a video, I wish I could show you guys. I don't think I saved it, but I took a video of some of them that were there, I think on Monday. And then right now, currently it's 10 p.m. I don't know if they're expecting protests to come in Minneapolis, but they're just all over the place. And it was Monday again, I believe, or it was Tuesday yesterday, where it was Monday. Yeah, it was Monday. So Monday, I tried to go. It was about 5 p.m. I got off work. My car was basically empty on gas. I tried to go fill up my gas tank, and the gas station was closed right next to me. I went to the gas station that's, I couldn't find any. I went to a couple ones. I was like, should I drive to St. Paul, which is like about 10 miles from me in a different neighborhood. But my gas tank was so empty that I was kind of nervous that I didn't want to drive and then my car runs out of gas or something. So I didn't do it. But luckily, I was able to find one in Minneapolis that was open. That even though they were closing down, they were willing to let me fill up my gas. Um, but all this to say is that the cop killed basically an innocent black man, black kid, he was 20 years old. And then they are now I don't know if it's the government, I don't know who's, again, the military vehicles. I don't know why they're there, but it's like they're either expecting backlash, or to me, what it looks like is they're trying to intimidate people from either protesting or just in a way to kind of show like they're there, which in my opinion doesn't make a lot of sense and is really stupid, because how quick they are to bring like military vehicles and like to, you know, be scared of what's going to happen in the aftermath. But when somebody is killed, then they act really slowly to like either convict the police or to make any action. So to me, it's kind of like hypocritical or contradictory to bring all these militarized vehicles and intimidate people. I mean, the streets are, even though people are walking around, the streets are really empty. I think businesses are open today because, like I said, I just went to eat. Monday, a lot of businesses closed early. And a lot of people, I'm pretty sure there were a lot of people like me just panicking. I mean, I usually cook, so usually I don't really go out to eat. Depending on if it's like a weekend, I might do that. Um, but the initial day where they closed, I was kind of hoping to go out, get something to eat. Everything was closed, so I was surprised. I didn't even know there was a lockdown or shutdown. And this has been happening a lot of lockdowns, a lot of shutdowns. I kind of agreed last year to a degree when they locked down some places after the protest, um, because a lot of businesses were destroyed and things like that. But currently, it's just making no sense to me right now what they're doing. It's like literally looks like they're just intimidating their citizens. So I don't know what you guys think. I just don't agree with it, and I just wanted to make this video because it's like I'm not the only person that thinks that. By the way, I've seen a lot of my friends say the same thing, where how quick they are to like bring military vehicles in the city, do all this stuff just to intimidate their citizens, especially the black citizens. To me, that's how it feels like, because they're like, well, you guys are gonna react to what happened, what we did wrong, but we're not gonna fix the issue. We just want to intimidate you guys so you don't react to the situation we created. So that's how I feel. Um, and I'm really just wondering why they have all these vehicles in the city right now. It's literally, I don't know what you call them, National Guard, military people standing outside with guns. Like they expect, like it literally looks like like a war is gonna break out. It makes no sense to me why they're out there. So um, that's why I made this video again. It's just, instead of like addressing the issue, if it's really that serious, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if the governor of Minnesota has said anything about it. He could at least address the situation. The president could address the situation. But none of them are really doing anything. Instead, they just want to bring the military vehicles again and intimidate people, but they're not fixing the issue. I could understand if they were doing this and then they wanted to talk about the issue that's actually happening and like have a serious conversation on what's going on, but that's not what they're doing. It's just bringing vehicles, military people with guns, and then again, just intimidating the citizens not to do anything, which even I was debating. I'm like, you know what? I already see them outside. I kind of want to go out usually when I get out for, kind of go do something, but I'm like, okay, our business is closed right now. I have to go ask around, like, are you guys open? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, should I just stay inside? Should I not do anything? So that's kind of my reasoning. It's like, they make a mistake again, the police, the government, whatever you want to call it. And then they don't want us to react, but then they don't even address the situation. It's like they're just trying to cover it up, basically. So that's literally what I just wanted to say. I know the reason I said George Floyd too is his trial is going on right now. I haven't really been following along with that as much. I followed along a little bit to the first week, I think it was, but not enough to really give any explanation on what's going on right now. But that trial is supposed to be, I forgot how long. It's supposed to be a pretty long trial. Let's see. I have to research some of this stuff. Like I don't really. There's a reason I don't really follow the news to a certain degree, but not so much that I get stressed out. And especially, I feel like the news, depending on where you guys are watching it from, like, I mean, CNN is better, Fox News sucks, but at the same time, they always report things in a way that, like, a citizen that's actually witnessing what's happening wouldn't necessarily look at it that way. I guess they're kind of just reporting it from their view. When this first situation happened with George Floyd, I was living right where it kind of happened. And obviously the neighbors there was a lot of protests, there was a lot of things happening, but overall it was not there was violence, there was things. Well, there was actually no violence at all. I don't think any of the people that came to protest were mad at each other. There was none of that. They were all just mad at the police. So we were all united in that cause. I was at the first protest. We were all united. We were just mad at the police. We were mad at the government, the city, for not doing anything about it. But they made it seem like we were basically just running wild and mad at each other, things like that. If there was anybody that was doing that, it was definitely not people that were from the city, that actually cared about the city, that cared about the people. It was just outsiders, and I think there was like cops, people like undercover that were causing trouble that weren't actually the actual people that lived in those neighborhoods. So let me just see. Okay, I think it's a 14-day. How long is the trial? Let me just check. Okay, it says 11 days, but I don't think it's over yet. So I really can't find how long it's going to be. I know I'm pretty sure it's still going on. But again, just to say that there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of stuff going on. So I'm pretty sure part of the reason the military things, whatever, the people, they're bringing their vehicles, they are thinking there's going to be tension and things like that. But at the same time, again, they don't. I feel like they're sending a message that they don't really care about anything that's happening. They don't care that a black man was just killed. He was like 20 years old, had just started his life. They don't care that George Floyd was really killed last year. There's been a lot of stuff happening in Minnesota in general. It seems like they're more concerned about keeping the status quo. So like, oh, we'll bring these vehicles out, make sure that nothing happens, make sure that we intimidate people to not do anything. But if they really wanted to solve the situation, I think they would address it in the news. They would really fire. I mean, good thing that cop was fired. I think she was arrested. But they would have even the George Floyd situation with the cop. I think his name is Derek Chauvin. He should have been arrested. I don't know why why this trial is taking this long. And I'm not familiar with the law and how it works. So, but at the end of the day, if anybody could see from the video that he was wrong. There was no reason he had to do what he did. And in the same situation with just what just happened. So the citizens, the people, especially people of color, minorities, black people, people that live in the neighborhoods that this stuff happens, they have every reason to be mad. But again, instead of addressing the situation, they want to bring military vehicles and intimidate people to not react to what happened. That's how I see it. I don't even think last year when the George Floyd protest was happening, there was military vehicles, but they were there like dispersing crowds, and I don't think they were or there was the National Guard and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just find this like whole situation very strange. Like people are just walking around peacefully down the street. There was nothing happening, and then they're just military vehicles just like roaming around with, I don't know if they have guns. I don't know what they have in their hands. Like it just makes no sense to me. I've seen a lot of people post that it's like an intimidation tactic, and that's how I feel because I mean the stores are. I don't know if things are still open. There's a curfew from COVID as well. I think it's well, not a curfew, but it's like stores, everything closed at 11 still from COVID. But it literally makes no sense to me what they are trying to prove, what they're trying to do. I understand they don't want businesses looted um, or protest happening, but I don't understand why they just can't address the situation, why the governor can't address the situation, why they can't like do either a police reform, get rid of the police and then just start over, or do something like that makes sense so that the citizens actually, the people that are afraid of the police, including myself, can actually feel safe. But instead they want to bring military vehicles and intimidate people in a more, to make people feel more unsafe and not trust like the police, not trust the authority, things like that. That's basically what I'm trying to say. It's like, I feel like there's a better way they could do this, but like again, I never feel like they're necessarily trying to solve the problem. They're more just trying to not have people react. So they kind of like, okay, well, let's make sure that there is no protest. Let's make sure that things don't get out of hand. But in a month, how we know in a month, in a year, the same thing is going to happen again. So you haven't solved the problem, is what I'm saying. So this time when this year when this happened, I was upset. I was really upset, but I really didn't try to get too, I guess, involved because last year when it happened, I was like, oh, everywhere. I was in the protest. I was everywhere, getting really involved. Um, this year I'm very upset still, but I kind of was like, for my own health, I don't like to think about all the things that are happening. I kind of, obviously, I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but I kind of took a back seat um, and just did it more like in either sending like posts, social media posts, talking to people, things like that. I also work on a project where we are doing like a relief um, for like I guess the neighborhoods that this stuff happened in. Like the neighborhood last it happened on was, what is the neighborhood called? Well, it was like around I lived in an area at the time. It was like Minneapolis area, Franklin and Lake Street area is where I lived, but it was right around that area. I don't know what the exact neighborhood is called, but I'm currently doing a project where I do marketing just to help businesses and things like that in that neighborhood, to help the Black community in that neighborhood, things like that. So that's kind of how I involve myself right now. Um, Last year, like I said, I was in a protest. I was everywhere. I was doing a lot, but it's kind of seeming like it's just like an exhausting thing that keeps happening. And again, it doesn't seem like they try to solve the issue at all. So um, I think initially, so last year again, when this happened, I don't even think that the cop got arrested right away. His name again was Derek Chauvin. I think we had to sign some petitions. We had to keep going out protesting, doing a lot of things before he got charged, and now he's on trial. So they initially, I don't even think they were going to charge him, and if there wasn't a recording, a video, they weren't going to do anything at all. So I don't know, like I feel like there's a really, I don't want to make it simple, like it's an easy solution, but I feel like there is a solution to this, and it's not bringing military vehicles out. It's not intimidating your citizens to not like protest and not do stuff like that, because that's not going to solve the issue. If you want to really solve the issue, you need to talk to the cops, you need to talk to the police, you need to tell them either if they need more training, they need to look at who doesn't have experience. They need to completely start over. First of all, I don't even want to get into that because now you're gonna have to talk about how most of them are already racially profiled and racially motivated, and they're already trained in the wrong way. So I don't want to get into a big rant on that, but that would be where they can start. If they really want to solve the issue, they can look into that. And I know there was talk on police reform, on abolishing the police. I feel like they did make some changes, like adding mental health workers, adding more people that can de-escalate situations. But overall, the same cops that were there when the first situation happened. Well, there's been in Minnesota, there's been a lot of situations happening, so that just shows Minnesota is definitely not a good state for police are not doing their job here, and people of color, whether it's black mostly, and others, don't really feel comfortable. But they keep making the situation worse because this stuff keeps happening, and again, they don't really want to solve the situation. To me, the government, and I don't really care whether it's Republican or Democrat. I'm obviously more Democrat, but at the same time, I also feel like they're not doing enough. They just want to make talks and talk about, oh, we're so sad this happened, blah blah blah. But what are you doing? They're not really doing anything about it. So that's kind of where I was upset, and especially I think right now, um, our governor, I'm pretty sure, is a Democrat. I don't know if he's the one who sent the military, whatever, the vehicles out, things like that. But it just proves that again, they don't really want to solve the issue. They're more concerned about just keeping it peaceful. So it's like, oh, something bad happened, let's just cover it up. But we don't really want to solve the issue. Um, yeah, no, I just really wanted to say that. Um, like, I think it was Monday again. Monday when initially, like I had just gotten off work. I mean, I knew that it was Sunday that Daunte Wright again, life was taken, and obviously I knew there was going to be protests. I knew stuff like that was going to happen, but just the reaction to me of like the situation happening, I don't know if I'm pretty sure the police chiefs and stuff like that. I think the Brooklyn Center police chief or whatever might have got fired. The female officer that shot him retired or resigned. And I think currently, let me make sure I'm speaking what is actually true. I'm pretty sure she's arrested. So that's the only thing I would say. They actually acted swiftly in that situation. Well, not as fast. They should have did it right away, but well, she's charged. I don't know if they're gonna have a trial for that as well. Um, but so at least they acted quicker than the first time, or not the first time. Again, this has been happening for a long time, so I don't want to keep minimizing and saying the first time. But they acted more quickly. But let me just get my point that I was trying to make again. So yeah, I mean, it's something that's just been happening a lot, and I really feel like they are not looking into the issue and trying to solve it. So last year, I remember 2020, there was a lot of racial stuff happening in general. I know there was George Floyd. There was like different things that, like, what is it? What do they call it? Like hate crimes, or is that what you want to say? And I'm not saying that it's something like I don't want to paint the picture that it's something that happens. Well, the police shootings definitely happen a lot, but the other stuff, they definitely do happen. So, but again, I don't want to like. It's like they do happen. They happen a lot. It's something that's you've got to worry about. For the most part, to me, like unless I see a police and something like that, I feel safe. So I'm not trying to paint the picture that I don't always feel safe, but at the same time, it is something in the back of your head where you're always thinking like what? Okay, so for example, like I saw the military, and I don't know what their role is. I don't know what role they play. But I was thinking, like, let me record them and like say something like, "What do you like?" Kind of record them and say like, "What is going on? Why are they out here?" But I was like, "Oh, if I reach for something, what could happen?" kind of deal like that. So it's kind of like always in the back of your head. And I've been racially profiled a lot of times, not currently, but like when I was younger, as a teenager or in my early years. So it's kind of like something where you always have to think what could happen. And like I said, instead of being able to solve the situation and making the citizens feel safe, they find a way to basically put the blame on the people that are the ones that are hurting. It's like, again, bringing the military vehicles out, but not really going in depth on how they're going to solve the situation. I really feel like I'm not saying it's an easy situation, because racial bias and racial profiling and whatever happens all the time, especially from police. I feel like they're literally trained just to think like that. That's why I said just get rid of them and then start over would be the best option to me. And like with new training, new way of thinking, that would be the best solution. So it's something that I feel like has been going on. Well, and I feel like it's a fact that it's been going on forever in the USA. But again, they don't want to address that situation. They don't want to address that the police has been doing this stuff for since they were formed, and then that they act on impulse when they see a black person react, instead of knowing how to like bring the situation down. They just react with the worst possible way that you can react. So I'm just thinking like, why haven't they addressed that situation? Why aren't they talking about what they can do better in that area? But instead, they just want to bring like military vehicles again. They want to diffuse the situation so that nothing happens, but then they don't want to talk about how they can solve the situation so that like stuff like this doesn't happen again. Yeah, that's all I was saying. It makes no sense at all how they can't really think about what they need to do, like the police, the whatever, yeah, the police officers, the police system, the departments. They can't actually think about like, hey man, this like we've had. Okay, so there's 3 people I can think of in Minnesota. I'm pretty sure there are more, but and they've all happened in different cities too. And I don't remember how long ago this one was, but there was a guy named Philando Castile that was killed in his vehicle. That was about, I don't know if it was like 10 years ago or 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I don't know how long it was. Well, it couldn't have been 10 years ago. It had to have been like 5, 6, 7 years ago. There was George Floyd, which was in Minneapolis. And then there's Daunte Wright, which is in Brooklyn Center, I think. And there's been more situations like this. I'm just thinking of the ones I can remember. But you're telling me this whole time they are not actually seeing that there's an issue with the police in Minnesota and the police in general all over the US, but they want to ignore that issue and bring military vehicles out, stop the protests, intimidate again, and like say, hey, you guys, what you're doing is wrong, blah, blah, this, but they're not going to address the situation at hand. Or if they do, they will just make a little speech of like, oh, this was very sad. We don't wish this to happen. Like, I get so like, I used to actually be happy when I would see like, oh, let's see what the president has to say about this, right? Like President Biden, it doesn't matter again who's president to me, because they're all gonna do the same. Like, even though I would say it's better to have obviously Biden, but he's just talking. Like they're not really putting action into anything. So like whoever, at least he says, okay, we're sorry. Trump wouldn't even say anything, but at least he says, we're sorry this happened to this family. But then what are you doing about it? Like, okay, like you put out a statement, we're sorry this happened, but you have like actual power to change things. And whether it's just bringing the police to have a talk and like to think about changing things. I don't know if they can necessarily change the law, but he can at least like encourage them to really have a serious conversation on what's going on. But again, they just put out little posts and things like that, saying like, we're sorry this situation happened, we're sorry for the family, blah blah. But there could be real action that's taken right now. And again, I feel like they're just doing that to like diffuse the situation, to not have people angry, um, to make sure that the like basically to just keep everything as normal, and just like, oh, let's forget about in a week, let's forget about it and let's keep on moving. But then again, if you don't solve the problem, it's going to happen again in a year. It's going to keep happening. Like clearly there's an issue, like I said, in Minnesota. Like it's happened too many times to not know that there's an issue with the police. Like you can't deny, at this point, you can't deny that there's an issue with the police. Whether you initially thought there wasn't, like you have to be serious, there is an issue. But again, I haven't seen, like I'll maybe look into it more, but I haven't seen them actually say what's going to change. Like how is the police department, police system, what is going to change about them? And I'm not saying about us, because last year I know I was in some protest and in some this community gatherings, stuff like that, where we were talking about like what's the best situation. A lot of the solutions and it was the community, not the police. The police weren't even involved. They weren't even coming to I think we wanted to get them involved, but they weren't really coming to talk about how they can solve the situation. So we will talk about how should we should we think about abolishing the police? Should we think about reforming the police? Should we think about re-educating them? I know the thing that did change, I think, like I said, they brought mental health workers. I think they brought certain people that they're not necessarily police, but that can actually de-escalate situations that happen. But I really don't feel like they take, like the police department, they should be the ones taking the first step. They should be like, hey, we're going to really think about how we can, if we're going to think about how we can change what's going on, right? We're going to think about how we can train our officers differently, or fire the ones that we've seen do the wrong thing. Or like, in my opinion, just almost like completely start over with new training, new officers, and just have a whole different system of policing. But they don't really want to touch that issue. Again, they don't really want to go there. They kind of just want to bring, like, soon as they think there's a protest or they anticipate there's going to be one, they just want to bring vehicles and like make sure that doesn't happen, make sure people don't do anything. But then again, I feel like there's a solution that can be had. I'm not saying it's going to solve everything, but I don't get why they're ignoring that. And obviously the citizens, again, I said, like, we were last year, I know we were doing a lot of work, and I think there's another meeting this Thursday where we talk about like what we can do as far as like what steps to take to reform the police, stuff like that. But again, it's the citizens doing that. So at the end of the day, the government, the police departments, they have to agree on what we're saying, and the government councils, or what they're called, I'm not really familiar with all the terms, but they also need to agree with it. So it shouldn't, like, obviously the citizens are the ones that are more concerned about it, but it shouldn't be on it. Like it shouldn't be on us to come up with all the solutions. Like they should, at this point, the police should know they have an issue. Like it's not even like it's as clear as day they have an issue. So I don't get why they don't take it upon themselves to like think, hey, like we clearly are not doing our jobs right. Let's rethink how we can change it. But that's really all I wanted to say. Again, I really wasn't thinking about making any video or anything like that, but I just came home and I just saw all the military or whatever, I don't know what they're really called, standing out there like they're anticipating something happening, but it's almost like they're just intimidating. It's kind of like an intimidating force to be like, hey, nothing's gonna happen here, this, but that's okay. To them, that's like a quick fix where they're like, okay, we just want to diffuse the situation, but then they know that people are not just gonna be okay with stuff like this happening. Eventually, if something like this happens again, it's gonna even get worse. So why don't they actually come up with a real solution of how to solve this? again, have the police officers really sit down and think about what they need to do to solve this, or listen to the people on what they need to do to solve this. I know there's been a lot of talks between police and like the people, especially people like whether it's black or people of color. Um, I know there's been a lot of talks, but it never really goes anywhere. It's just kind of like, okay, let's talk about what we're gonna change, like what's wrong, this, and then the same thing happens again because they weren't really. Again, it was just kind of like a publicity thing to be like, hey, look, we care about what's going on in your community. We care about this, but it's it always feels like it's more of a situation where they just want to keep everything down, like keep the people calm, keep everything safe, but not really find a real solution. Um, I've been talking for a while, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of get that off my chest and really say like what's going on. And like I said, I wasn't really planning on talking about it. Um, I mean, I've talked about it with friends, family, stuff like that, but I really wasn't planning on um, going in depth because I've seen a lot of situations like this happen. So it's kind of like unfortunately, something where it's like, okay, here we go again. Um, but I definitely know, like, I really think they need to really come up with a solution because everybody's getting fed up. Things are, like it's only, I really feel like if they want to solve the situation and they want to make the citizens, especially the black, what do you call it, brown or people of color, if they want to make sure that we feel heard and things like that, they really need to like address the situation and like have the police officers really come up with a solution themselves. I actually feel like they need to bring a solution themselves. They need to say what they can do better. So then we want to hear what they can do better. And I want to see if they actually think they have a problem because I've seen some of them say that they think they have a problem, but I want them to actually admit like, hey, we have a problem in our department. Like we just don't know we don't know how to police, we don't know what we're doing. We need like either the citizens, people to come and tell us what we can do better, or we need to completely change the way we police. But I haven't seen them do that. I've seen, obviously, again, citizens, communities come to them and say, this is what needs to happen. And then they obviously will listen, they will have a talk, but then nothing changes. But I haven't seen them come up and say, this is our solution, this is how we're going to solve the problem. I feel like they should do that upon themselves because I want to see if they think they have a problem because right there, if they admit they have a problem, I think that could solve a lot. That could solve a lot of things, right? Um, but it almost seems like usually when this happens, they first deny. Like I know the officer that again killed Daunte Wright. She was saying that she made a mistake, but I definitely doubt she made a mistake. And even if she did, that doesn't change the fact that she killed someone. I can't make a mistake and kill someone. I would be in jail. So um, it seems like they always try to say, "Oh, it was a mistake. Oh, this happened. Oh, whatever." But they never come up with a solution. Again, like the whole police department, they could literally right now say, "Okay, Brooklyn Center Police, like this just happened. We're really gonna think about what's gonna change going forward." I really want to see that. So I'll just end on that note. Um, I want to see if the police departments of Minnesota and other places, but specifically Minnesota, can come up with a solution themselves on how to stop all this stuff that's happening currently. I think that's the best solution. They need to come up with a situation, a way to solve this. But I just end the video there. Again, I just wanted to speak on that, but